Hello, I'm Terry Butchie from Ohio State Math Literacy Initiative, and today we're going to talk a little bit about coins. So we teach money a little bit differently now. We used to have a lot of focus in these early grades, and now they kind of break it down. So grade 1, we just focus on pennies and dimes, and then grade 2, you start to bring in nickels and quarters and use all 4 of them together. So what do we do with coins? So the best way to teach math, in my opinion, and for most concepts, is through discovery. So you have your students play with some things and they discover what happens when they blend them and play with them, and then that helps them to have a more concrete idea about the mathematics that you're using. But there are some things you can't discover. So you don't know, like your student won't, by playing with dimes and quarters and nickels and pennies, they're not going to discover what each one is worth. So that's something that we just need to learn. So so let's talk about how you can do that, but do it in a more interesting way for your child. So the first thing that I would do for any of first or second graders, or if you want to get your students started thinking about money earlier, you could do that. But the first thing that I would do is, if you have some coins, which not a lot of us have coins anymore because we don't really use coins, we use little plastic cards. But some of us have some coins still around, so and you might want to start saving up some coins if you have a youngster, because they're going to have to learn how to, excuse me, my hair is falling out, going to have to learn how to play with and blend coins. So what do we have here? I have some nickels and some dimes, pennies, and quarters. So here's our buffet of coins that we have to know by second grade. So first grade, remember, first grade we only want to talk about pennies and dimes. Put the dimes over here. Pennies and dimes. And then in second grade, we bring in our quarters and our nickels. So first thing, again, just say, play with these. What do you notice about them? What do you notice is a great math question. So what do you notice? So you want your student, and then just stay quiet. So what do you notice? And then stay quiet. So what are some of the things that we think they're going to notice? One of the most important, and if they don't notice this doesn't mean they're wrong, but we just want to plan ahead and kind of think, what do we think they might say when we put down all these coins? So remember, you're talking about first and second graders. So I would say a clear thing that they're going to say is that some of them are brown and some of them are silver, which is an important thing to know. So there's only one kind of coin that's brown or copper. And so that'll be that's one of the reasons why this is in first grade. Also, it's in just a 1 unit, and then the dimes are in 10 units, so 10 pennies. So that's why dimes and pennies are, dimes and pennies are in first grade. So we want them to notice some things. We also, so if you just think about this, so this is their first time just like playing with these coins. You want them to like touch them, to flip them, to stack them. You want them just to play with them. You want them to not think this is a strange, like just mathematical tool, but it's something that they use. So you want them to notice, another thing they might notice is that there's a face of somebody on each of them. So each coin has a face. You could integrate some social studies here and talk about whose face they are. But everybody, all of these, they seem to all have a face on one side and then something else on the other. Now, on quarters, they have some of them have a bird, some of them have a name of a state. So those are the kinds of things that you want your student to notice. It's like you might think, well, what in the world does this have to do with math? It has everything to do with math, because you want them to recognize these coins. Well, they can't recognize them if they don't know what the differences are between them just in appearance. So the very first thing we want them to know is how to recognize them. So in order to do that, they have to play with them a little bit. So recognizing is the first thing. And then once they do, so again, in first grade you have just these, and then we bring in the nickels and the quarters in second grade. So let them play with it a little bit, maybe even have them draw some things out. So, and this also gets to some of your other kind of learners. So if your learner is creative and likes to draw, likes to represent pictorially, let them do that. So once they tell you like what the differences are in the coins, say, can you draw some of them so that we can figure it out? So what they'll do is they'll inspect, like if they're going to draw a quarter, they will inspect this quarter. They'll look at what it is and they'll do their best second grade drawing to tell you what a quarter looks like. So that's an important thing. When they take the time to represent it in a picture, they're telling you, they're showing you, they're communicating to you that they understand what a quarter is. Now, we haven't even talked about values yet, but understand what a quarter is. So that identifying is the key first. We have to be able to identify. So playing, drawing, talking, looking at similarities and differences, which remember when we were talking about the kinds of questions that you can ask, similarities and differences are way up on a critical scale. So thinking about Bloom's taxonomy, we talked about that when we talked about questioning. But remember, similarities and differences, that's a pretty critical component to understanding mathematics, and we want to have a lot of experiences with that. So that's one thing. So far we've just talked about what these coins are. Next, we want to talk about what their value is. So what they are is one thing, and then what their value is another. So there's a few games that you can play. So I'm gonna we talked at one point about a game called the trading game. This is from the Algebra Project work. Algebra Project is a national nonprofit organization based on the work of Bob Moses, and helping students to better relate to and understand and be able to communicate as mathematicians and be players in this world of mathematics that we now find ourselves in. Actually, the world has also always been about mathematics, but this is a mat, and we've done this before. So I fold it in thirds. Thirds are a little bit hard, but what I try to do is match these up. So fold it into thirds to make your game board, and then flip this part over. So we fold it into thirds and we flip it over. You can use scrap paper or anything. Doesn't have to be fancy schmance. But then we have this. So now for first grade, remember first grade is just about dimes and pennies. So for first grade, this column could be our pennies. So I'm going to write down pennies. Pennies. All right, and then the next one would be, well, we're in first grade, so pennies and dimes. Now, dollars aren't in first grade, but there's nothing wrong with moving into dollars in this case, in my opinion. So now one of the things you have to remember when you play the trading game is that the trade values have to be consistent. So if we have pennies and then we move to dimes, we have to think how many pennies are in each dime, which is 10. And because that trade value is 10, that's why I put dollars here. So how many dimes are in what? So how many 10 dimes are what? So that goes into dollars. So you play this game just like you do any other. You can use number cards. So I just have cards. So you can use cards if you have cards to pull your value. If you have dice, you can use dice. Or if you have just a little piece of paper, just put numbers from 1 to 10 on there. So and you can use 1 to 5 if you want to. It doesn't matter. So I'm gonna play with I made all the red cards, and I have from ace to 9. Remember, if the trade value is 10, we only want to go up to 9. So that means that once you get 10, that gives you the next item. So we'll just play, and we just take turns. So my turn, we're not going to play the whole game, but so my turn, I would have 9. Woo, 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 woo. So I get 9 pennies. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, when you play this game, remember, you have to trade if you can trade. So I would play against someone else. So the rule is if you can't have 10 or more in a column. So I don't right now. I only have 9. So then I would ask the person I'm playing against, am I legal to finish? And so legal means there's not 10 or more in any column. So you say, okay, I believe my turn is finished, and then you ask the person who's going against you, and they'll look at your board and say, okay, I agree, you don't have any more trades. But that kind of conversation between the two players is really important. It gives us a self-check or a check, and then it also helps the other player to want to be involved when it's the other person's turn. So this is my board. I have this. So then if I drew, so then the next person would draw. So then they would start filling on their board. So now I have to draw again. So let's say it's back to my turn. So I'm going to pick a card. I'll just pick it randomly. So I have a 7. Now, whatever you have on your card, whenever you play the trading game or the banker's game, that is how many of the first units that you get. So we always, when we're playing this game, when our card comes up to a number, we're always getting that number of pennies. Always, always, always. So I need 7 more pennies. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now we have all of our pennies. And so before I give my turn away, before I give it back to the next person, I have to make sure I have a legal board. And so legal board is you can't have any 10 or more in any column. Well, we're breaking that rule right now. So I have to make a trade. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm going to trade these 10 pennies then in for a dime. So I have my 10 pennies. And I'm going to put on here a dime. And so on. So then the check is my board legal board, so then it's the next person's turn. And you keep going until somebody gets $1. So this is a banker's game with pennies, dimes, and dollars, and that's because the trade value is 10. You can also play the banker's game in second grade, because in second grade they learn about the value of nickels, and then quarters. Oh, shoot a doodle. I made a little mistake here. Thanks for being patient. All right, so we have pennies, nickels, quarters, and dollars. All right, so we have pennies, nickels, quarters, and dollars. And think about why I chose those. What's the trade value? Oops. No, so I have a mistake here, but let's just go through it. What mistake did I make? So what's the trade value from this column to this column? We know that we have 5 pennies in every nickel. And then look what happens. We have 5 nickels in every quarter. And oops a doodle, I put dollars because there's not 5 quarters in every dollar. No, Dr. Butchie, no. So we're going to just work on these 3. And you do the same thing. So you can pull cards, you can roll a die, but it's the same idea. So we're not going to play this game, but you can play this game once you get into second grade, once your child is in second grade and they want to play around with these ideas. So these are games that you can use to engage your students, to help them to continually grab at these coins, understand how many pennies there are in a quarter, how many pennies there are in a nickel, and so on. The Bankers Trading Game from Algebra Project is an incredibly important and valuable tool, and kids love it. They love playing this game. So just imagine if you're just like hanging out and your child wants to play a math game just for fun, because they do like this game. So we want to do as many of those kinds of things as possible. One last game I just want to share with you for the understanding of coins and their values, knowing what their value is, and then we need to start combining coins. So this is for second grade. So we know that we have quarters. So I just made little pieces of paper here. I have quarters, and so there are several quarter pieces of paper. I have a penny. I have a bunch of dime pieces of paper in here, and then a bunch of nickels. So you can decide together with your child, or if your child wants to play with an older sibling so that you can just take a little rest, you can do that too. So let's say I'm going to pull three of these for me. So that means I get 3, and then you get 3, or the sibling gets 3. And what we're going to do is figure out who has more. So this is my pile. So I have, let's see what I got here. I have a nickel. So I'm going to take my nickel. And then I have, what else did I get? I got a dime. And then I got a penny. A nickel, a dime, and a penny. So there's my nickel, dime, and penny. So for the first thing that I can do then in this turn is figure out how much I have. So I have a dime I know is 10 cents. A nickel I know is 5 cents. And a penny I know is 1 cent. So if I wanted to add these up, then I know I have 16 cents. So let's see what my partner got and see if I won. Oh, shoot a doodle. So my partner got a quarter. And a dime. And a nickel. So let's see how much the person I was playing against got. So they got a nickel, which is 5 cents, a dime, which is 10 cents, and a quarter, which is 25 cents. So it would be super cool if your student just looked at that and said, well, this one's bigger for sure. But you don't say, yes, awesome. Now let's do the next one. You say, well, how do you know? You know. You, like, as the adult, you know, but ask them, well, how do you know? And ask it in a way that, like, you're not sure. You really need them to explain it to you, because that gives them yeah, I'm the mathematician. I can show my parent or guardian or caregiver or sibling how to do this kind of stuff. So once I pulled the quarter, I just kind of knew that whoever I'm playing against is winning. But we also can figure it out by looking at these numbers. So now, if I have 25 cents and 10 cents, that's 35 cents plus another 5 is 40. Now I did that super fast, and all you second grade teachers are like, that doesn't happen that quickly. And I know that. But we'll add them up. So now we have to compare them. So remember, when we talked about compare before, there's 2 different ways that you can use to compare numbers. So we want to know which one's bigger. Well, we can look just by our total at which one's bigger, and that's a comparison, that number. So we could do a comparison of that. So we have a 40 here and a 16 here, and I know a bunch of you are like, why in the world is she drawing a number line? She's just obsessed with number lines. But number lines are so valuable in teaching mathematics. So we can tell just on the number line because we put these 40s and 16s there. But if the question is how much more, then a number line is incredibly valuable. So we can do the how much more on this number line using the comparison model. So remember what the comparison model is. We have this 16, and then we have this 40, and the comparison model says, what's the difference? What's the difference between these two numbers? So let's think about it. How could we figure that out? Well, I'm going to mark down chunks of 10 because chunks of 10 really helps me to better understand my own mathematics. So I'm going to put 20 here, and then I'm going to put a 30 here. So I just marked my chunks of 10. And so what do I know? I know that from here to here is 10, and from here to here is 10. And what's from here to here? How do you get from 16 to 20? So there's this thing called punch counting. So 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So there are four jumps there. So altogether, the difference between these two is 24 cents. That's using what's called a comparison model, which is a really valuable model for your students to learn. The other kind of comparison model you can do with this is you can say, well, I have a dime and a dime, so those are even Steven. And then I have a nickel and a nickel, so those are even Steven. So those are irrelevant now because we know that there's that even Steven thing. But look what I have now. I have a quarter and a penny. So if we use the comparison model using the actual coins, you can just see how they match up. So we're matching up the two that are equal and just dismissing them. And then we have these because these cancel each other out. So now all we really need to do is figure out the difference between these two. Well, this one we know because we did a good job in second grade and we know that's 25. And this one is only 1. So what's the difference between 25 and 1? And that is 24. So I know when I talk to all of you about how to do these things, we just do them once. When you're doing this with your students, it's like days or weeks that you want to spend on this so that they can really have a good handle on the tasks that we're talking about. So while I only do it once, please do it many, many more times with your student. All right. I've enjoyed my time with you, and I hope you have a fun time playing with coins with your child or dependent. Thanks. Have a great day.